first match week of the Premier League is officially here. I can't believe football is finally starting again. And with that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my match day 1 predictions. Now guys, I've never really done league predictions. Throughout the time I've been making YouTube videos, we always do Europa League, Champions League videos, but never really one single league. So if you guys enjoy these Premier League prediction videos, then we can continue them throughout the whole season and maybe even in the years to come as well. And obviously, if you agree with my predictions and you enjoy this video, remember to subscribe down below. We're trying to hit 11,000 subscribers and I can't do it without you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into these predictions. Starting off with the first match, we have Arsenal against Coventry City. Now guys, this is a very interesting match because obviously Arsenal are the winners of the 2025-26 Premier League title, while Coventry City are a newly promoted team. So majority of the time, you'd 100% go with Arsenal. But I do want to quickly mention about Coventry. I think they've been making some very good signings, guys. Now obviously they are being managed by Frank Lampard, who I think is a decent manager and he has Premier League experience. But you look at some of the players that they're bringing in. They're bringing in players like Sadiq Sharif, who in my opinion was very good in recent seasons. You look at Taiwo Awoniyi, who with Nottingham Forest was a decent striker as well. You look at other players like Laum Chauna. I remember seeing him at Lazio. He's a decent player. So I do think that Coventry are signing some big names. But at the end of the day, bro, Arsenal are 100% going to win this game. They are Premier League title holders and they've made some good signings as well. Solis, I think, has been really good since joining Arsenal. In every single game he's played, he's either gotten goals or assists, which is absolutely incredible. Now they are suffering with a couple injuries, obviously with the likes of Jurriën Timber and William Saliba. This is the projected lineup. I'm not sure if Bruno Guimaraes might play in this midfield, but at the end of the day, I do think Arsenal will win this game. At the end of the day, I would like it to see Coventry get an upset, and it may make the direction of this Premier League title race go very differently if Arsenal start off with a little bit of a stutter. But at the end of the day, I do think Arsenal will win this game against Coventry. I think it'll be a pretty comfortable win. I'm going to predict a 2-0 win to Arsenal at the Emirates. Moving on to the next match, we have Hull City against Manchester United. Another newly promoted team against another team who did finish in the top 3 in Manchester United. They finished 3rd place last season, and now I will say with Man United, so far in the preseason, they haven't looked that good. They got a couple poor results. I thought that game against Milan was absolutely horrible. Luke Shaw was shocking. But guys, once again, if we just compare these squads player for player, there is one squad that is clearly the best team, guys. Sadly for Hull City, I do think they are probably the most likely to go down this season in the Premier League. Man United, yes, I still think they have some problems here or there. The midfield, it's definitely going to take some time to get used to because they pretty much brought in a whole new lineup of midfielders. Obviously, Fernandes is still there, but you look at players like Tielemans and Santos, where last season, obviously, you had the likes of Casemiro and others. So it is a different team. And even defensively, we have maybe a couple names where you don't fully know if they're going to perform, but I think Man United should win this game. I think Man United will have another decent season in the Premier League. I do think there's a very high chance that they finish in the top 4. I think they're a decent team. Under Carrick, I think there's still a little bit of unknown, but against Hull City, I think Man United will pretty comfortably win this game. I do think Hull City will score with the home advantage, but I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Manchester United. Moving on to the next game, we have Everton against Crystal Palace. Now, this game is being played at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and this is a very interesting one because you have a team in Crystal Palace who obviously won the Conference League last season. They were very good, but this is a team who have lost so many crucial aspects in their team in recent years. Obviously, guys, they are being managed by Pierre Sage, who I'm not really that familiar with, as they did lose Oliver Glasner. And you look at some of the players that they've lost recently, they've also lost some very important players as well, especially defensively. You look at them in the last season, losing players like Guehi, losing players like Maxence Lacroix, and even more recently, losing a player like Brennan Johnson, who went to Everton. I think Crystal Palace might struggle a little bit. I feel like Everton are always a decent team, and last season, maybe we didn't see them perform as good as some of us expected to at home at their new stadium, but with the home advantage, I do still think they will be able to win this game. I think it will be a very close game, and if Crystal Palace can win this game, then maybe they'll prove me wrong. But at the end of the day, I do think Everton will be able to win this game. I'm going to predict a 1-0 win to Everton. Moving on to the next match, we have Ipswich against Sunderland. Sunderland had an absolutely fantastic season last year, being promoted to the Premier League and finishing in the top half in 7th place. They were absolutely insane, and now they are going to be playing European football this season. But with that being said, I do think it may have a negative effect on the squad. Now, they haven't started playing any European football yet, so with that being said, they still should have a fairly healthy squad. And guys, honestly, this Sunderland squad, I do think is a very, very good squad. Now, if you look at a team like Ipswich, I think they've been another team, another newly promoted team that have made some very, very good signings. I think Maeda was a great signing from Celtic. I think Issa Diop is a very good signing as well. I think he's a very strong, very tall center back. So they have brought in reinforcements here and there. But you look at this Sunderland team, you look at the midfield with Xhaka and Siddiqui. This is a very, very good midfield partnership. We saw how good it was last season, and I think it will continue to do good. A player like Brobbey, we've seen him score many goals recently. Lefay, very, very important player. Kempton Talby, a very young Moroccan player with a lot of upcoming talent. I think this Sunderland team is incredible. Do I think Sunderland can have another top 10 finish? It's going to be very, very tough juggling the Premier League with the other competitions as well as European football. But in this game against Ipswich, I think Sunderland will be able to get the job done. Moving on to the next match, we have Nottingham Forest against Leeds United. This may be a pretty underrated prediction because I feel like a lot of people will predict Nottingham Forest to win this game. Obviously, they're playing at the City Ground, and if you look at Nottingham Forest team, they do have a very, very good squad. But for some reason, I feel like Leeds can get a result. Guys, hey, call me crazy. Call me insane. I might be crazy, but I just feel like Leeds, they've been doing some very, very good business, some unexpectedly good business in my opinion this summer. And I think some of the players that they've been bringing in are very, very good players. First of all, Trafford, very, very good goalkeeper. Muharemovic, in my opinion, is one of the best center backs in the Serie A last season. Harry Wilson had a fantastic season last year, and bringing him in to help with that attack, to help with the scoring of the goals, I think those are very, very good signings. And even a center back in Nico Elvedi, I feel like a lot of people don't realize it, but I think he's a pretty good player. Throughout his career with Mönchengladbach, I've been a big fan of him. Guys, I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I don't care. For some reason, I feel like Nottingham Forest might be disappointing this season. I don't know why. I know they have Oliver Glasner. I know they made a few good signings. Diomande in the center back, great center back, but I'm gonna predict a 1-1 draw in this game. It might be a shock, but I just feel like that might happen. Moving on to the next match, we have Brentford against Tottenham. Two London clubs face up against each other in the first round of the Premier League. Brentford against Tottenham. Brentford having the home advantage being played at G-Tech Stadium. Now, Tottenham guys are a very interesting team because they had a shit season last year. They had a shit season 2 years ago. Okay, 17th place 2 years in a row is crazy. But this season, I do feel like they're moving right. De Zerbi, I think, is a decent manager. Obviously, maybe a little bit hot-headed, but a decent manager nonetheless. And you look at the transfers that they brought in this summer. Guys, incredible transfers, okay? Sandro Tonali, Mateus Fernandes, Van Hecke. Like, bro, just crazy-ass transfers for Tottenham. I don't know what kind of smoke they've been smoking. I don't know what kind of weed that they got over there in Tottenham. But the owner is clearly going crazy. He's out of his mind because these signings are insane. Now you look at Brentford and they do have a very, very good team. And I feel like last season they had an unexpectedly good season. Me and I know a lot of other people predicted them to finish very low in the Premier League table. So finishing in the top 10 I thought was a very, very good season. But in this game, for some reason, I feel like I have to back Tottenham. I gotta do it. I think Tottenham will win this game. Yes, there's a very high chance that they could have another poor season, but there's also a very high chance that this could be a complete turnaround and they could once again finally get back to those top 6, top 5 finishes. With that being said, I'm going to predict Tottenham to win this game 3-2. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game with the likes of Igor Thiago. We know Brentford can score goals, but I think Tottenham will get the job done. Moving on to the Sunday fixtures, the first game we have is Brighton against Aston Villa. Very interesting game this. Now, I have recently heard that Villa lost their center back Ezri Konsa to Arsenal, which is a very, very good signing for Arsenal, but does weaken the defensive lineup of Aston Villa. Now, I think Aston Villa have a good team. I think in the midfield, and especially in the attack, with players like John McGinn, who in my opinion is probably one of their best players, I think they have a very, very good team. But I have a feeling Brighton at home, I think they will be able to get a result from this game. I do think that Nottingham Forest will have a good season, and under Unai Emery, I think they're a very good team. But for some reason, I just feel like this Brighton team, I don't know what it is. But I feel like they're going to get a result in this match. Brighton have made a couple good signings this summer as well. I think bringing Vuskovic is a very, very good signing. He's a young Croatian center back, and I do think he's a big talent for the future. With the home advantage being played in Brighton, I'm going to predict a 1-0 win for Brighton. I don't know why, but I feel like Villa might slightly struggle to score. So we're going to go with a 1-0 win. Moving on to the next match, we have Manchester City against AFC Bournemouth. Guys, we cannot look at Man City's last game because that last game that they played was absolutely shocking. 3-0 loss against Arsenal in the Community Shield. And I know it was just a Community Shield, but holy shit. Man City defensively were horrible. Now in this game, I do think they will come back. Bournemouth are a team who aren't really a traditional top 5, top 6 team, but obviously last season they were incredible, finishing in 6th place, which a lot of people didn't expect, and now they are going to be playing in Europe. But guys, you look at this team, and I can only say that Man City will win. I think this will be a pretty comfortable win for Manchester City. So with that being said, I'm going to predict a 3-1 win to Manchester City, and they're going to start off scoring hot. Moving on to the next match, we have Newcastle against Liverpool. Honestly, guys, this is a pretty tough one to call because you look at Newcastle, and I feel like Newcastle are always a team that have the ability to get upsets against big teams. But you look at them last season, and they were so poor, guys. Last season was one of the worst I've seen Newcastle. They finished in the bottom half of the table in 12th place, which I feel like was very abnormal for how they've been performing in recent years. Newcastle, I think, have grown to be a very good club. But guys, you look at this Newcastle team, they don't look like the same team that they once were. Now, neither do Liverpool. Liverpool have a lot of new names. You look at a player like Jeremy Jacquet, obviously with Konate going to Real Madrid. He's a little bit of an unknown player. We're not sure how he's going to perform. And another player like Ngumoa, good talent, but very young, very raw player. You look at a player like Isak, once again, good talent, but spent majority of last season injured. So with this Liverpool team, I do feel like there's a lot of unknowns, and obviously being managed by Andoni Iraola. We know that when Iraola was at Bournemouth, he was incredible. But sometimes you're not 100% sure how these managers who are kind of used to finishing mid-table are going to perform at a bigger team with all the pressure on them. Sometimes those mid-table teams is where they hit their peak, but when they get to a big team, it doesn't always work out. And that's probably why Eddie Howe might have stepped down from the Newcastle job, which is also another detriment to Newcastle. Now, obviously, Newcastle have the home advantage, and we know Newcastle fans are crazy, but I think Liverpool will win this game. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for Liverpool. And finally, moving on to the last game being played on Monday, we have Fulham against Chelsea. Another London matchup in the first match day. And guys, I'm going to be honest, I'm still not 100% convinced with Chelsea. I don't know what it is, but Chelsea over the last half a decade, every single year, I feel like I don't know where they're going to finish. Sometimes I predict them to finish in the top 3. They finish 10th. Then some seasons I predict them to finish in 9th, and they finished in the top 4. So I feel like with Chelsea, I never really know, and I always seem to get it wrong. But what I don't think I'm going to get wrong is I think they will win this game. Fulham, I think, are a decent team. But for me, Fulham is like a traditional mid-table team. I think they're a decent team. They play very good against teams in the bottom half, but against teams in the top half, we see them struggle sometimes. Now, against Chelsea, yes, they could get a result, and we've seen it in recent years where Fulham have been able to get results against Chelsea, guys. We even saw last season, Fulham got that 2-1 win against Chelsea. We saw also a couple years ago, another 2-1 win. So Fulham have gotten results in recent years against Chelsea, but I think Chelsea are just a bit too strong. You look at some of the players that Chelsea are bringing in. Morgan Rogers, he already scored for them in preseason. I do think he is a very good player and will definitely help this Chelsea team. Now, I will say some of the other previous players, a player like Cole Palmer, I think really needs to step up if they want to finish in the top 5, top 4 this season. But without European football, I think Chelsea will have a very good season. I think they'll get a comfortable win against Fulham. For some reason, I think Fulham might struggle to score. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to Chelsea. And those are my Premier League predictions for the first match day in the 2026-27 season. Guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see me do Premier League predictions for every single match day, remember to leave a like, remember to leave a comment, and remember to subscribe to the channel, guys. And as always, stay tuned for more videos.